Hey Harmonizers, welcome to Elon's Extreme Cowboy race. This was at Provincial Finals in the Futurity division. So this is the first round that we did, and there were only 5 horses in the Futurity class, and the way it worked is everybody did their runs in the morning, and the top 5 would compete again in the afternoon. So we come in to do our free ride, and he goes, oh my goodness, there is a timer there, and there is a speaker, and he was pretty scared of it. So I had to really hold my rein there to stop him from completely running off on me. But then you can see I let him go nice and slowly through here. And there were only 5 of us in the class, which meant that as long as we didn't get ourselves disqualified, then we would be able to ride again in the afternoon, because it was 5 runs in the afternoon and only 5 people. So here we go around doing our free ride and head to our first obstacle, which is a drag obstacle. So I'm going to pick up a rope off of that jump standard there, and then we're dragging a little bag thing around. And I could feel that Elon was a little bit tense, probably because he got spooked by that timer and loudspeaker that we had to ride by. So I decided to just take it slow and let him just walk this obstacle, even though we have practiced trotting and even cantering different obstacles where we drag before. I just thought, let's walk it and make sure we stay set up for success here. So then I put the drag back down on the standard, and we're going to head off to our next obstacle. And we are trying to get our little canters in between. So remember, the big thing that we're trying to do here is prep for Texas when we go to the Extreme Cowboy World Show. And here we're doing a dismount exercise or a dismount obstacle where you have to then send your horse around the block that we're standing on and do 1 lap each direction and then get back on. Extreme Cowboy racing is essentially an obstacle course, but you got to try to do it fast, because the faster you go, you get bonus marks. But ultimately, the score that matters the most is how well you do all of your obstacles. So you have to make sure you still do everything properly, and that's the most important thing. And we are prepping for that Extreme Cowboy show that's in Texas for the World Show. Actually, as I'm doing this voiceover for you guys, we have started our drive down to Texas. It's a long journey to get there. We'll be splitting it over 3 days, so that way Elon doesn't have to spend too long in the trailer at one time. And here you can see he's scared going by that speaker again. So I just go slowly and I let him kind of walk past it. Try not to make a huge deal about it. And then up onto the bridge. So the obstacles themselves don't seem to be a huge deal for him. This is kind of cool. It's a kind of a ramped bridge, and then the stuffed toys on either side to give a distraction. And then we head over to this pedestal, and this was a task I had not asked him to do before. He is used to going on a pedestal, but not pivoting. So we had to go on and then do a 180 pivot turn. So you can see I'm getting him to shimmy his little booty there and do a pivot around and then step off of the pedestal. So he did that really, really nicely. And then after that, we go into our rollbacks. So this is where we canter down to a specific marker. There's a pylon there. And we have to turn into the fence and go back the other way, showing a left canter lead, which he does nicely. Come down, turn into the fence again, and go off on the right canter lead. And he gets all of his canter leads, so I was really happy about that, because we haven't had an opportunity to practice a lot of this stuff. Actually, since before I went to Kentucky for the thoroughbred makeover, I've only had a chance to put 1 ride on him before coming to this competition. So we really haven't had a lot of practice together. Things have just been a little crazy with the 2 girls and daycare canceling on me because they had an outbreak of foot and mouth disease. And of course the thoroughbred makeover, and then we have our renovation going on in our house. I had to move out of our kitchen and stuff like that, all before heading down to Texas. So just haven't had a chance to do a whole lot with this little guy. Doing his side pass there, he did really well. Here's a kind of a scary gate. It's got a rope gate, but it's got a flapping tarp on it that kind of swings a little bit, just adds that little bit extra fear factor in there. And he handles all of the obstacles really, really well. Comes over, does this gate, side passes over to it. And our goal for this was to kind of get some canter between the obstacles and get our correct leads. Here we have to do, it's called a spider jump. And it's just a turned over feed tub and then these angled poles going around it. And apparently we have to work on our jumping skills a little bit. There he actually jumps over it. He's a little bit unsure about what to do, but we haven't done a lot of jumping. Gets his little canter going on there. And then we go around and it's time for our free ride to the left, which is essentially just going for a fast canter, or ideally if we could gallop, that would be the key. I'm just doing a fast canter, not going too crazy because I didn't want him to be upset, especially as I come around the corner here. I start to slow down. I want to make sure that he'll be able to ride past this booth here, which he actually does really nicely. And then we canter around. So I'm thinking, okay, he got, a good chance to get used to that timer and that loudspeaker that's in that booth. He should be good heading into the afternoon run. So after everybody does all their runs and everything, then we go again in the afternoon. Now we're getting pretty close to the sun setting here, so it's getting a little bit dark. So I'm like, all right, things are going to be good. He's ridden by this booth already. So we go off and we're going to get a left lead change here. Look, he does a beautiful flying lead change. His lead changes are going absolutely fantastic. And notice the ring has totally changed now. They've changed the whole setup. And you get to see the scary booth this time. And he's like, nope, can't go past it at all. So I have to turn him around and be like, nope, we are going past it. So he was still upset about it. Doesn't look super awful at that point, but he's a little upset by it. So we come around and our first obstacle is a water box. So we're going to come around there and he kind of gives it a little bit of a look. He's a little bit unsure about it. I'm just keeping him straight, keeping his nose pointed right at it. I'm not actually kicking him or anything like that. I'm just asking him to stay straight. And then once he does step in the box, he's like, oh, okay, it's just water, and he continues on. So he does that really nicely. I was pretty happy about that. Now comes the fun part of the roping, and I apologize. The footage is not super great footage because Sarah was holding Alicia while also filming me because there were only 5 horses in the class, and both of my horses were in this class. So I caught the cow there, and which doesn't always happen because I'm not a great roper, but she's holding Alicia. There wasn't a whole lot of time between them, and Elon went first, and then Lissy came next. So here he's spooking, just going by. That's a mattress on the ground with a carpet over it. And then this is a tricky obstacle for him because we are going towards the timer. And you can see there's a timer there, but there's also a big black speaker to the left of the timer, and it's blasting loud music. And he's like, nope, don't really want to go over to that. So it's not really about the bridge or anything like that. It's more about what's going on in front of him and going towards it. So I'm thinking, okay, this is actually pretty good for him, a pretty good opportunity to just kind of walk by that and have to face that for a little bit. He was able to do the bucket transfer okay. And then here comes a mattress, and I have not done a mattress or any type of kind of squishy thing like this. So he goes to step on it and really spooks himself because it's a mattress, and so it totally gives way under his feet, but not like water. And he does try stepping on it again, and it does the whole squishy thing. And unfortunately, after coming home from this, I don't have a mattress to practice on, and no time to do that before Texas. So we're hoping there's no mattress in Texas at the World Show. And you only get 30 seconds in the competition, and then you have to move on to the next obstacle. So luckily he did touch it again, and then it was like, okay, move on to the next obstacle, which is the super narrow poles to go around and turn around and go back through the super narrow poles, which we just walk through all of that to make sure we get through them okay. So the mattress is a thing that we'll have to work on. I think if I had been given even 30 more seconds, we might have gotten across it, but 30 seconds was just a little too short to be able to do it. This part here, I'm really proud of him. He does his ground tie really well, just stands there nicely for me to go and run around. And it was a pretty far ground tie too. And keep in mind, this is a Futurity class. So this is a class for 3- and 4-year-old horses. Elon is a 4-year-old horse. So I think mattress is a really, really tough thing for them to do, but totally trainable if I just had a little bit more time with it. And then the pedestal, we were asked this time to get up with all 4 feet on the pedestal, which I don't normally do with Elon with me riding him. He can do it on the ground perfectly well, but it just throws off their balance a little bit to have you on their back. So you can see we get 3 feet on it, but we don't really get the 4 feet. So we're going to lose marks on that as well. And then coming around, we have another free ride to do. So at this time, I'm thinking, okay, it should be okay for the free ride. And before we go to do that, this time it was just to get off onto the mounting block and then get right back onto your horse, which he stands perfectly well for. So I wasn't expecting him to be super spooked by this as we go by, but you're going to see as we come along, I'm like loping along thinking it's going to be okay. And he just decides to completely kind of peace out there and was going to turn and run away. So I just have to turn him. And keep in mind, I'm riding in a halter. I don't have a bit or anything in his mouth. So it was a pretty sharp turn, and I held onto my rein pretty good there to say, no, we have to go past it. And then I just take my time here. I'm like, we're going to go by it, but we're going to go slowly and carefully. But it's just really upsetting for him. And I don't know if it's more the noise. That's what I'm thinking it is. It's the big, loud black speakers or the combination with the red flashing of the timer. But for whatever reason, he found it scary. So we just walked by it, and then we do our canter to the finish after that. Which was a little bit tricky with. So we ended up finishing 4th out of 5. Definitely got some homework to work on, but hopefully we'll do well in Texas and be able to fix a few things along the way. Thanks for watching, guys.